Good day, everyone. We actually made it.
Sort of.
7-4.
Anyway. Yeah, so this is the Finn. This is indeed the Probably Incorrect podcast. Once again, we are somehow have made it to number 2 with 7 days not being banned.
You almost announced the wrong stream.
No, I know, but I covered it up. Don't worry about it.
Just
Don't worry about
just chalk up us not being unbanned and no one watching us.
You
I
know,
thought
that's
we
a fair.
said
Yeah, it's a
that
fair point. Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah. How many views did the last one get?
Oh, about like 10.
Oh no, there's someone watching.
Half of those were us.
Yeah, some of those were us. Yeah.
On
Oh,
YouTube, we
that's
got
bots.
4 views on the last one.
I know somebody said we had a glowy in the stream.
Yeah, someone was trying to advertise
Yeah.
their publicity services.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I never got around to doing that actually. So let me
Ban him.
I'm making us mods.
Yeah.
Oh.
Make you guys all mods. Yeah, I just never got around to doing that because I was like, yeah, right.
Oh, shit. I'll take it.
So, what we can do here is, have to switch channels. And then, what the hell is shield mode? Chat will be cleared. I don't know what shield mode is.
I think that's PG mode.
Might be for the
That's
best.
Summer's mode.
By the way, happy Easter, you chucklecocks.
Why are you making me sign in 9 different times, Twitch? Jesus McChrist.
They want to be extra sure that you're who you say you are.
Yep. We already got one glowy. We don't know. Are you the actual sneaky? Where's your alcohol?
Yes, why aren't you drunk yet? Are you sure you're sneaky?
Yeah.
I don't know, Cass doesn't sound like he's drinking something right now.
Yep.
What?
There's over.
How the fuck do I make you guys mods? Do I like right click on your name or some shit?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Hey, Jazz.
Hey,
Hello.
how's it going?
How the fuck
G'day,
do I
Apple.
add mods? You know, I haven't done this shit in forever.
Can you go like left click on them and
No, it just brings up a normal menu.
You think after however long you've been messing about with Twitch, you'd know how to do this.
I've never made mods about if anyone saw it before. I really don't. Okay, look, I'm not popular enough to actually have to give a shit about this sort of stuff. I only have to give a shit about this sort of stuff because of the topics we're covering.
yeah. Well, how did I think it's Max or Nose or mods in the other stream? Who did that
Yeah, actually that was me. That was like,
years back?
yeah.
That was
Okay,
before
sounds-
Twitch made it an entire convoluted process.
Yeah.
Come on,
Yeah.
Sneaky, you work IT. You know the solution to this. JFGI.
If he works IT, then he doesn't have anything more fucking technological than a toaster and his computer.
Fair.
Yeah, boy. Damn straight.
Hey, are you guys getting any feedback from my mic?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm
Shockingly
hearing-
not.
Nah, I'm
Alright,
just hearing
good.
it normally.
Just wanted
Yeah.
to make sure.
Yeah,
Although
you're
I gotta
good.
put your volume up.
Okay, like seriously though, like I'm in the settings section and it doesn't let me set anything. Oh, I have to go to video producer and then go to settings?
What the fuck?
This says type /VIP username or /mod username to add user as a VEEP or a mod.
So /mod Casbat16 or
Your auto mod settings allow for filtering against misogyny, but only misogyny. I can only
Yes.
filter out against misogyny.
Can't filter misandry. That doesn't
No.
exist.
Yeah,
No, that doesn't exist.
interesting.
I can't believe Twitch says racism doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They're not progressive like the Dungeon and Dragons guys.
Yeah, indeed.
To be fair, everyone who's progressive about racism seems to make themselves sound even more racist, so.
Yes! We don't believe in half elves!
The amount of times it happens.
We
Like,
don't
I don't know.
believe in humans race mixing with elves. This just sounds horrible.
Yeah, okay, fuck this
Yeah.
shit. How the fuck do I do it by chat?
It says /mod username.
Yeah. So /mod and then our usernames. Probably like.
Okay, well, how the fuck do I get back to my own fucking stream? Jesus Christ. They make this shit so fucking hard, it's not even funny.
Okay, never mind. He is drunk.
Fuck you.
Nah, he works in IT.
There's
So
th-
probably
th-
Yeah,
there's
I
only
was
four.
able to get there, yeah.
Okay.
Mod, Casbat.
16. Because literally 15 other people took this fucking name.
Mod.
Yeah.
Orpheus. What the fuck was your name?
It's Orpheus Kidwell.
It's literally just Orpheus Kidwell.
No spaces.
What the fuck is mod view?
It lets you see who's being a bad boy.
Ah.
Alright, well, that's good enough. Sign doesn't need moderation powers.
I'm not even in Twitch, man. My bandwidth
Yeah.
cannot support that shit.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Why'd you turn shield mode on?
I was not trying to do that.
Well, you just did.
I turned it off.
I know.
It's a whole fucking thing I gotta do now.
Yeah.
30-second slow mode.
Yeah, like, disabled follower only. Like, bro, come on. We don't got any followers. We need all the chat we can get.
No,
Yeah.
we've got, I think, 2 followers, but I think 2 followers are me and Kaz.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear shit about this anyway. I wish
Shield mode.
Restream would show the
Click
chats
connection
at
mode.
least. Can we actually get the chats from either of those?
I believe it's showing the chat.
Does it
for
only
us,
show the
but-
Restream chat? Yeah, that's cool. I know I'm live. I would like
'Cause
to
for
be.
me,
Oh,
it's-
yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Alright, so it's showing all of the chats. That's very cool. Thank you, OBS. You are far superior. Now how do I get you somewhere? Can't just slap you in something? Oh, yeah, there we go.
So did you want shield mode on or off?
Obviously off. Did you turn it on?
No, it's on. It's still on from when off turned it on. I
It
believe, or
Mick
something like
fucking
that.
shouldn't be.
No, it turned back. Sneaky turned it back off.
Yeah, I turned it off.
And then I left mod view.
What the?
Yeah, you're fucking high.
What the? Fuck.
Anyway, so as I was saying, the topics for today are completely controversial stuff that will definitely get us banned eventually. If anyone
Let's
ever
get
sees
to
any of
stream
it.
3.
Let's hear it up for Stream 3.
Yeah.
So we have that. We have the Cash App guy getting stabbed in San Fran.
Mhm. We have an executive of JP Morgan wanting to seize property.
Eminent domain.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Ukraine's war plans. I mean, there's not really much to say about Ukraine using a civilian app for communication. Russia did it as well, and China did it as well, and that's
Yeah.
pretty normal leaks. Japan breaking ranks on the natural gas embargo. I do have some things to say on that, so yeah, let's go ahead and.
Wasn't there something about China too?
I don't remember anyone putting anything about China. I went about.
Or was that last
athletes.
one?
That was last one, I believe.
Oh yeah, and let's start with the Trump indictment, because you know what?
It's
the biggest news. That's honestly really the biggest news.
Everything else is
unsealed?
just filler episodes.
Indeed.
Has it been unsealed yet? Or is it
No.
just leaks and rumors?
No,
Gotcha.
leaks and rumors, yeah. So, there's not really much to debate on this topic, but I do just want to throw my 2 cents in there, because you're probably all going to agree with me on this one. So, the gaping hole in the middle of Trump's indictment. What exactly are these other crimes the president is alleged to have done? So, the whole situation surrounding it's kind of just complete bullshit. So, basically, they're trying to convict him on conspiracy to commit a crime in the process of committing another crime that can no longer actually be trialed for, or something.
Statute of limitations, it's past statute.
And not only that, they're trying to convict him as a felony, which is a federal crime, but they are a local court, which means either they are going to make the announcement that they local courts have the power to do federal crimes, or it's a misdemeanor and it doesn't matter, and they can't convict them on it.
And
It
not
also
only
just shows
that,
up.
isn't no, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't this the same crime he got indicted of in literally 2018 or something like that?
No,
yes,
they were trying to get him on it back then, and they kept saying they were totally going to get him on it back then. But nothing ever came of it back then.
Same incident with Stormy Daniels and the creepy porn lawyer, but in this case, the DA has basically gone, okay, guys, we're going to use this to springboard to this other thing that we're not going to tell you about, but trust us, bros, it's totally legit. We've totally got him this time. The walls are closing in.
Yeah, even in
Those
Australia,
walls.
even in Australia, none of the news reporters or anything were even neutral or anything. Everyone was like, people with just signs standing outside for Trump was apparently chaos, disorder, and on the edge of a riot.
I'll fucking show them a riot.
If that's on the edge, if that's chaotic and on the edge of a riot, I don't want to know what they think about the Summer of Love.
And this is stupid because it's not even our fucking politician or anything. Yeah, we're sort of allies, but be neutral on that. Don't fucking be so blatant.
I do want to point out something about Australia is Obama and Biden did work with you guys to screw the French over some major submarine deals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So I imagine your government in particular has a vested interest in keeping the Biden administration happy for geostrategic reasons.
Yeah, but you'd think there'd be at least one news channel that tried to be neutral, but no.
No, they're not.
No.
They're all journalists. And
Yeah.
what's hilarious is with this recent one, even the American journalists are kind of looking around, looking at each other, and going, you know, we can't really actually say this is anything. It looks like a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, the problem with this whole fucking thing is, he's not going to go to jail.
No.
It's not happening. I'm sorry.
Well, they just trying to keep him from running again.
It's not. Well, that's not. That can't happen. They literally can't. They legally cannot do that.
I will say this about what you said, Kaz, about neutrality. Any show that's on TV literally cannot be neutral because they're already dying and they need views.
Yeah, that's true.
They had to go by the algorithms and post the most sensational bullshit they can.
So
what
I
you're
will
telling me
say,
is TV is YouTube.
I think this was an Australian. This actually reminds me. I'm not sure if this was an Australian or not, but basically this one dude got surrounded by protesters with his, he was in a car with his girlfriend, and he gets surrounded by protesters.
Yes. And he got jailed for it, right?
Because he ran over. Yep, they ran over a couple of them because they started breaking his windows.
You mean Charlottesville?
No. And so he drove away. And then the police arrested him for attempted murder because he drove over a couple people who were standing in front of his car as they tried to break his window.
Yes.
And this dude actually got interviewed by Tim Pool, and Tim Pool, of all people, decided to not put up the interview and not have any further discussion about the guy.
What?
Because during the interview, the guy said that the January 6th rioters needed to be put to death.
Oh, God.
And so Tim fucking fence sitter Pool was like, okay, well, you just deserve everything the government does to you.
Wow.
Well, I mean, there was another similar-ish, at least conceptually, thing that happened this week. The dude in California that took the gun from the guy that was holding him at gunpoint.
Oh, yes, and shot the guy,
and then got arrested for illegal possession of a firearm.
Yes. Yep.
Well, this is a bit more of a general political statement than anything else. But the purpose of the law, especially in these cases, is not to check criminality. It is to ensure compliance.
Yes.
And by having these individuals act, even in their own defense, well, they disrupt the order of things, and that disruption is therefore intolerable.
Well, individuals acting in their own self-defense means the state does not have a monopoly on force, which means that it must be punished.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where you live.
No, that's just how it is.
Yeah, no. A state is not motivated to preserve its population. It is motivated to preserve its own power. The preservation of the population is only necessary so long as it continues to propagate the state.
That's true, but you look at states down south, basically anything along the Gulf Coast, and it's, don't try that shit here. You will find out.
But Sign, you are one of 50 states in the United States, and the United States is one of 300 countries. Unfortunately, you are what's called the exception to the rule.
I get that.
Not the rule. No, you don't get that apparently, because you're trying to use the exception to the rule as proof that the rule doesn't exist.
I'm not saying the rule doesn't exist.
You just did.
I'm saying that they're using a two-tiered justice system in America, where in some states it's okay, and in some states it's very much not okay to legally defend yourself.
Well, no, I think I get what you're saying. I really, really do. But it's not so much that it's a two-tiered justice system as the justice system is designed to do something other than what we necessarily think it is.
Yes.
To circle back to Trump, everyone remembers the Hillary, what do you call them? The email
files.
Yes, the Hillary files,
That is a great example, though, of what one might call two-tier justice.
Yes.
Is rather more simply pragmatism. Is that there was a crime committed. The DOJ came out and said, yes, the law has been broken, but there was no malicious intent, and because there was no malicious intent, we do not recommend prosecution. Now, we might all say, well, that sounds decidedly unfair. Wouldn't I be prosecuted if I did something? And yes, but that's because you're quite simply not necessarily important to the continuity of the state. The simple truth of the matter is, for the last 250 years, there has been a very polite agreement between all sides of the political spectrum that you do not prosecute the figureheads of the other side should they lose an election. And that's quite simply because we do not wish to have a Caesar crossing the Rubicon issue. Historically, the only reason Caesar invaded Italy was because his legal immunity was running out, and he had been forbidden for standing for election to consul once again, so he would have been able to be prosecuted by the Senate. And so, fearing prosecution, he invaded Italy.
Yeah.
So, in Hillary's case, it was both the politically expedient and sensible thing not to prosecute her, because it ensured longer stability in the republic, whether it was necessarily moral or desirable.
Sure.
On an individual or even.
However, the counterpoint here is something I'll say is that in the past 20 years, the Democrats have increasingly shown that they are only willing to go one way on everything. If a Republican commits a crime, the Democrats say they should be prosecuted. If a Democrat commits a crime, the Democrats and Republicans say they should not be prosecuted.
Or that it wasn't a crime.
And this sort of unidirectional push is something that the Republicans it's the reason why I don't support them. It's because they're fucking spineless shitbrains who think if they become polite enough, the Democrats will just realize that seizing power is not good and that they should stop it.
Yeah, that's not gonna fucking happen.
The polite agreement only works if both sides are polite and in agreement. Which they aren't anymore.
Right now, the left is taking advantage of that agreement, and anytime the right does something, it's, oh, well, you're breaking the rules, you can't do that. And then when they do it, it's, oh, well, fuck the rules, we don't care.
Yeah, literally. And, a great example of this, again, besides, like, if you want to go, oh, well, Hillary's too big to fail, whatever. A great example of this is the May riots. The riots in May that the Democrats performed to firebomb a security post on the White House grounds, and then firebombed a church near the White House that the media spun as Trump attacking peaceful protesters with tear gas. Yeah, they were burning down buildings. So they were never prosecuted for anything, despite literally attacking a political opponent, setting fire to government infrastructure and a religious structure. They were not persecuted. Huh? Yes, it is. They were not prosecuted. But people who entered a building, and I will say, yes, there is a small slice of the people on January 6th who did break windows, who did smash shit, who did take a dump on someone's desk. Yes, these are actions that you should prosecute people for, not as a rioter or as an insurrectionist, but as defacement of government property, that sort of thing. The normal crime you would prosecute someone like that with.
I think to continue on your point, Sneaky, it could have been dealt with as a riot, because rioting is a riotous behavior can be a very specific charge. And I think if we had seen charges of trespassing, vandalism, rioting, that would have been agreed. Yes, this is how it should have been handled because those would have been fair and even-handed charges. But describing January 6th as an insurrection is either an appeal to absurdity or you're simply suffering from cognitive dissonance because it is the belief that the most well-armed nation in the world, the nation with a massively disproportionate population of veterans, a disproportionately quote-unquote right-wing proportion of veterans, who was willing to violently overthrow the government and failed to do so because one person got trampled to death, one person got shot in the head, and a Capitol Police officer maybe died of an allergic reaction. No one actually knows. So,
Yeah, well, not only that, my point is that about 1/10 of the people at the January 6th air quotes protest were actually doing riotous behavior, and all 100% got charged with that indictment.
Yes.
My point is that there's a large majority of people who were let into a public government building by police, a building that you can walk into to this day for free without doing anything. You don't have to let anyone know. You can just walk into the building. Yes, there are areas that are sectioned off to prevent people from harassing officials and whatnot, but there is a large section of the building that is you're just allowed to walk into it.
Didn't the leader of those riots literally get like 5 years when he did nothing wrong and he didn't go to any restricted areas or anything?
The leader?
Yeah,
Are you
like-
talking about QAnon?
Yeah, the guy dressed up as that.
Yes, he
as a
got
fucking
completely
white
pardoned from everything because a bunch of footage came out that showed that cops were literally escorting him around the building and that he had never at any point in time did literally anything wrong.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what you're kind of missing here is the same, well, maybe or maybe not. It's the same problem that happened with the Kenosha Kid.
Yeah.
We have a case where we all know it's bunk. We all know it's absolutely bullshit. They know it's bullshit to the point of fucking absurdity, but they're pushing it anyway, and they're doing this as an example, to set an example,
Oh,
and
yeah,
basically
totally,
say, if
Yes,
you
100%.
do this in the future, if you defend yourself, if you protest, don't you dare do what we did. If you do it, we are going to use the entire legal system against you. We're going to drown you in lawsuits. We will drain your money. We will lock you in prison for years with no trial, and you can just get fucked. Whereas on our side of the fence, we're never going to punish our people. We're never going to do anything about it. We're never going to even investigate it. And that's just the way it is. Get fucked, is what they're saying.
And my point is that shit will only ever change when the people who are currently allowing this realize that the other side is not adhering to the agreement.
Yeah.
Even do something about it.
Yeah. But they're not. So, it is what it is. But right now, if that's what I'm saying, if Trump got arrested, if Trump genuinely went out and got arrested and he showed up in New York and the New York judge was like, well, I'm sorry, but you're a flight risk, so you're sitting in the holding cell, that would have actually kicked shit off.
Yes.
This brings me back to what I was saying last time. The right, for the most part, they won't go out and start shit. They won't go out and protest. They won't go loot, burn, murder, etc. But the vast majority of them are sitting here, give me an excuse. Please come to my neighborhood and give me an excuse. Let me fight a defensive war where I am absolutely 100% in the right, and there's no way you can manipulate the media to say otherwise. That is what they're waiting for, and they're never going to get such a clear-cut situation. It's just not going to happen.
No, they're never going to let it happen. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Well, I think that I do think that you're right about that, Simon. But I think that the reason you're right about it comes down to the philosophical differences between the left and the right. The left agitates for change, the right, is perfectly fine with things remaining as they are in any condition, so long as they can feed their family, they can
Yeah.
go about
Yes.
their lives without any issues.
As long as the grillers can grill.
Because
Yes.
the thing is,
Which,
you have a
with inflation,
small,
who knows how long that's for.
Yeah.
you've got a small proportion of people on the right that are more than willing to be agitators, but the
There's a-
supermajority of people that are quote unquote on the right are just middle class.
There's
Well,
a
it's the other thing though, is I
Yeah.
know a lot of agitators that would absolutely agitate for the right, but they are smart enough to not do so solely because they know that right now there is no one that would support them if they did so.
Also, there's the fact that anytime somebody does it, it's, oh, well, we're going to disavow them. 1, 2,
Yep.
they're glowies, they're CIA, they're feds, etc., and so forth.
Well, yeah, that's
There's
what
a
I'm saying.
reason. There's a reason that the right is different to the radical right, but sometimes with the left and the radical left, you just can't tell the difference.
Oh, well, there is none.
Yeah.
Well, I think
I
think one of the things is that the grillers are their center right, but also America is just center right in general. But the politicians aren't. The politicians and the media, et cetera,
Far
aren't
left.
indicative of the rest of the country. And so the people that are, just normal are like, I don't care about politics. It doesn't affect me, and they won't do anything until it does.
Yeah.
See, my political theory here, when it comes to the right and left in the modern forms, is that there is no such thing as the left. There is only the far left. Because, and I say this specifically because you cannot have any left-based properties. So you can't have racial-based hiring unless you go full in on the racial-based hiring. Like, you can't have just a little smidge of it. You can't just have a little tiny bit of racial-based hiring. If you are actually implementing racial-based hiring, you have to do the whole thing, and that's how it is.
One person in the left in the SDM who's not far left, or
Who?
Isn't it Lupine who's left? Is Lupine left?
Lupine's just British.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference.
So yeah, I'll rephrase. There is the far left, and then there's the uneducated. Okay.
There's between the far left and the center is Europe, and that's basically where it stands. But Europe only exists because, in the way
Europe
that
only
it
gets away
can
with
philosophically, Europe only gets away with it because America
does their entire fucking defense budget.
Yeah, well, it subsidizes their defense, their development, various technologies,
medical,
et cetera.
Everything. Yeah, no, literally everything. And that's sort of my point, though. Is you have the far left and you have the uneducated. Be like, so yes, obviously, to someone who doesn't really grasp logistics, the idea that if you get fired from a job, there will be assistance so you can keep feeding yourself and keep your house and keep, not quite succeed, but maintain enough of your life that you're capable of going out and searching for another job. That sounds like a great idea. Okay, but where does that money come from? Okay, well, it comes from you having a job, and you pay a little bit of your income into this imaginary fund that's supposed to be there for when you don't have a job. Sounds great. Okay, so what happens when you have 200 people without a job and 10 with a job?
Well, the money from those 10 goes to the 200.
And they have to charge those 10 more money to cover the 200.
And not only that, then they start have to print money because, well, I mean, we don't have the money right now, but, maybe in the future. And yeah.
Maybe they don't have the money right now because whenever there's pet projects that the politicians want to engage in and they don't have the money for it, they may or may not siphon money from that invisible
exactly.
Also, you're getting a little something called unemployment insurance, which your employer has to pay for in case they fire you for an illegitimate reason or a contested reason, whatever. Well, that money, that fee goes up as more people get on welfare. And so your employer is looking at each new employee and going, I got to pay money to keep these people to make me money, so they hire less. Hiring goes down.
Yes,
Yep.
there's that as well.
The
I mean, there's also
goddamn
things
doll.
that are quite easy, like if you say have 10 jobs and you have 300 people who need jobs, well, those 10 jobs can pay people less money.
Yeah.
And they just don't, like, I see a lot of people who just can't seem to understand stuff like, well, why can't we just let people into the country? Well, we can't let people into the country because if you need a job and there's 300 people trying to get that job, you're going to get paid less for the job even if you do get it. And there's a high chance you don't get that job. And guess what? You can't make welfare anymore because actually they've decided they're going to do some sort of racial-based property on who gets the welfare first now. And I'm sorry, you didn't make the cut.
Oh, and those, 300 that came from another country, they're willing to do the job for a tenth of what you would do it for.
Yeah, exactly. And so I meet a lot of uneducated people who go with the ideas because they sound good and then don't really think a lot about, what goes into actually making that idea get implemented. And, that's why I'm saying there's the left and there's the far left and then there's the uneducated. Like my grandmother, for another example, we were talking today. Not today, but, recently. And she is very left. She's anti-Trump. She's, very blue. Actually, I should say she's very blue. She's not left. And she realized this recently during our talk. Because she thought this whole woke push was from the right.
No.
And I just looked at her and I had to explain, I'm like, no, all of this is from your side. And she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, Biden said this thing and this thing. And she's like, no, he didn't. And I show her a video and she goes, oh, well, I'm not for that.
She's from an older generation, Sneaky. That's the old school Democrats from 60 years ago.
I know. And so basically, we kind of just were like, me and my father were kind of just like, hey, look, this is what you're voting for. And she said, well, no, I didn't vote for that. And we're like, no, you voted for that. You voted for the people that put those policies in place. She's like, oh, well, I didn't know. And it's like, well, you did know. We told you, and you refused to listen to us.
And then you act surprised when it happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got a lot of uneducated people who just don't understand.
Well, I think you also have an issue of people that are blue but not left, being on board with some of the policies and then saying they're on board with some of the others until it affects them. Like
yes.
my mother,
not NIMBYs, yes.
Yeah,
NIMBYs.
my mother has been a Democrat her entire life. And she would always tell us as we were growing up, oh, if you're gay, that's fine. I don't really care. She's always on the fence with the transgender stuff. And then one of my sisters ended up coming out as a lesbian, and then another one of my sisters ended up coming out as non-binary, and she completely flipped the switch and basically disowned both of them.
Yeah.
Because I think that with a lot of the blue people, it's like, oh, welfare is nice. I like the way that the Democrats sound in their policies. They want to think that like
they
there's
actually
that
care.
compassionate politician sort of thing is what they like. But then when some of the stuff starts to come home to roost, in their own house, and they start going, actually, I don't like that at all, but she still is a Democrat despite
Yeah,
that.
it's I forget what the exact syndrome is called, but it's the I call it the expert syndrome, where you're reading a magazine and you're an expert on guns, and the magazine's written 2 articles. One article is about guns. They got everything wrong in that article. And you get angry at the article, and you're like, well, none of this is correct. But you keep reading the magazine, and now it's about car parts. You know nothing about car parts, but you read the article, and you're like, oh, so that's how car parts work. Okay. Even though the magazine got everything wrong about the article they wrote about the thing you know about, for some reason, this person still decides to trust the magazine when they wrote about a topic they didn't know anything about. And they just assume that, oh, the magazine just got it right this time.
Appeal to authority, basically.
It's not quite appeal to authority. It's a specific it's a specific mental thing. A lot like KD syndrome. It's one of those things where it's just like, because I know about the stuff I'm an expert in, I know when people are wrong about it. But because I don't know about the things I'm not an expert in, when someone talks about it, I don't know that they're not wrong, even though that they were previously wrong about something that I knew they were wrong about.
Yeah, that sounds like both sides here in Australia, Labor and Liberal. So whenever the voting comes around, I just vote for the Independent Weed Party.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Because
unfortunate, but nothing comes of it.
There's no good choice, so I just go for the independents that are never going to win.
One of the biggest problems are the people who are blue but not lefties, who look at this, they're the never Trumpers, the ones who are, well, just hold your nose and vote for Hillary. It's anything but the right, even if we don't agree with the insanity the left is doing. We have to go along with them, otherwise the right is they're gonna kill us, they're gonna hang us, they're all Nazis, they'll be goose-stepping in the street tomorrow if I don't vote Democrat. Those...
Like I said, uneducated.
Well, I
It's
think
not necessarily that they're uneducated, they've just been lied to, and the media has tapped into the fear so much that they're panicked. They can't think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Uneducated.
I think another issue on that front is that those sorts of people generally are not in favor of anything in particular. They're in favor of the status quo, of things going as they have been, because that's what they know. And when something gets popular that's not the status quo, they have sort of a visceral reaction to it. But I think
even though characters like Trump wanted to return things to the status quo, things being good, but they didn't understand that the Democrats were just reframing it all into making it Trump look like Trump's wanted to bring back the Nazi Party or some shit, when in reality they were the Nazi Party.
Well, I think another thing is that those sorts of people don't really realize that Trump is sort of the he's the lever that you pull to get some of the pressure out of the pipes.
He's a pressure relief valve, yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't let that valve get turned, then the pressure is going to keep building, and something worse is going to come along. And when it comes along, you're going to have a bunch of people that voted for Trump because he was someone they agreed with, all of a sudden vote for someone else that they may not necessarily agree with, but it'll fuck over the people that fucked them over. So they're going to vote for him.
And for no reason at all, everyone voted for Hitler.
Yeah.
Trump is a very bombastic personality. He's got a big personality, and that scares the left. That's not what they're used to. They're used to these meek Republicans who they're milquetoast, basically.
Yes.
And Trump scared them, especially with just how much support the guy had in the first time, and the second time, oh my God, they were shitting their pants.
I think the meme is a very good encapsulation of all of this. There is now tens to hundreds of thousands of young white men who feel ostracized from society and have no reason to participate in it. And then someone on Twitter goes, good. And the OP responds with, no, you don't understand. You are in danger.
Yes.
I do think that one of the things about like why Trump is the way he is with the big personalities versus Republicans. Trump isn't a Republican.
Yes.
He's a '90s Democrat. It's just that everything has gone so insane that the '90s Democrat is a reasonable return to reality.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing is he has that bombastic personality which has allowed him to, over the span of less than a decade, take control of an entire establishment party, become the head of it, and change every single one of the planks of its doctrine. And I think that's something that's worth taking into account because it's essentially a case of the Dems have gone so far out of left field that one of their own just going, hey, let's turn the clock back 20 years is enough to take over the opposition.
Yeah.
What you just described was the conflict between a progressive and a conservative. They wish to move forward. Trump wishes to move backwards, so to speak. And so you end up in a situation where their names explain the conflict.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you do have to remember there is a significant emotional investment on both sides.
Yes.
For a progressive, they literally believe they are moving towards the end state, which is better than the beginning state. They are advancing forward through history.
They're on the right side of history.
The problem I have with the progressives is that 99.99.99% of them are all thinking that progress is the only measure of society, and that if you aren't being progressive in your society with every passing day on a greater and greater level, you're like being regressive or some sort of stupid shit. And so instead of just being like, all right, so we're no longer killing people because they're gay, we can stop here, guys. We don't kill people because they're black anymore. We don't kill people because they're women anymore. We don't kill people because they're gay anymore. All right, so we're done killing people because they're things that are different from us. That's great. We've progressed. It's like, yeah, I'm down for that. And then they're like, okay, now we need to fuck kids. And it's like, whoa, why? And they're like, well, because it's progress. We have to push the boundary to fight against tradition. And it's like, not all tradition is inherently bad.
Well, see, that's the point. That is the fundamental conflict, because from their perspective, it is. Those traditions you're speaking of were the systems which established the bad times, the bad old times. So it is a conflict of definitions.
Like I said, the progressive, I don't like them because they think progress is it. That's it. It doesn't matter what kind of progress is being made, as long as progress is being made on anything in any direction, then it's progress.
I think
Alvo just dropped.
Yep.
But the progressives, if the progressives would see utopia, and they would think it's a failed society because it would need a change.
I would see utopia and I would think it's a failed society, but that's an entirely different thing.
Yeah, for a completely different reason, yes.
Different reasons.
But I think the issue with progressives isn't just that they own, because I don't think all of them only see progress as the real solution. I think some of them just push for progress because they've got a pretty cushy gig and they need a reason to keep things going.
Well, yes. So yes, obviously there's the grifters. I'm talking about the general ideological believers of the movement. Like there's a lot of grifters out there for environmentalism. it's a very easy grift. There's a lot of people that go, oh yeah, environment, yeah, I like that thing. Yeah, I'll still give money for that thing. But there's also a lot of environmentalists out there who are ideologically motivated about the environment and ideologically want changes to happen to, in their minds, preserve the environment.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the progressives, you've got the thought leaders who are the ones that actually believe the things, the grifters, and you've got the people that just will go along with anything that someone that says they're part of their group says.
Yes.
And that's, though, to be fair, like those three roles are probably exist in just about every political movement, whether they're progressive or conservative.
I will close out this this first topic, however, with a funny little anecdote. So I was talking to my father when we were smoking, and I was telling him about I was laughing about the whole Trump tax documents thing of like, oh, Trump didn't pay his taxes. I'm like, well, father, if Trump didn't pay his taxes, it wouldn't really affect his voter base. And he's like, oh, I know, they'd be loyal to him regardless. I'm like, no, you don't understand. There's like a large portion of his voter base that would actually think better of him if he got indicted for not paying taxes.
Yeah.
He's like, legally, right? And I'm like, no, like illegally, just blatantly not paying his taxes at all. There was a large portion of his voter base that would support him more for that. You don't quite grasp it.
Yeah.
We hate paying taxes.
So up next, if you guys need a visual aid, we have Japan breaks swanks with the U.S. and EU, and starts to buy Russian crude oil. So,
A price cap.
G7 nations, including Japan and the EU. Apparently, the EU is a nation, and Australia. Last year agreed to a $60 a barrel price cap on Russian seaborne crude oil. So effectively, the agreement is that we don't buy oil from Russia unless they pay it, unless it's $60 or less per barrel.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, because Japan wants to be solvent and not a failed nation state, they had to buy Russian oil for not that amount. Because it turns out that when the U.S. stopped producing all of the oil, no one else produced oil to fill that gap.
Mm-hmm.
The Saudis cut back on producing oil to drive the cost up.
Because the Russians asked them to.
Because the Russians asked them to, because they're in league, yes.
Yep. Because, that Biden pissed them off and basically spat over any relationship we had with them.
Yep.
I was actually talking with Albert about this in particular the other day.
Oh, yeah?
And about how it was such a failed golden goose opportunity for Biden and his handlers to not step up and produce more to make up for the difference, since the United States is capable of not only producing more oil than everyone else in the world combined, but also more cheaply. And you could fuck over Russia's entire economy in the same move. And it's such a missed golden goose because you appease people on the right, you appease people that want domestic production, and you appease all the people that are out for blood because of the Russian-Ukraine thing.
Right, but...
Yeah, but if you're not understanding, Trump did that, so thus it had to be shut down immediately the first day.
Yeah, oil evil.
Yeah.
No, Trump evil, oil evil, both of these together, but it had to go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, wouldn't even have to be like crude oil. It could be something like natural gas, like a quote unquote cleaner source.
Yeah, but you see, the part of that is a lot of natural gas in the U.S. gets activated by the fracking and other means, and fracking evil.
They don't like
Yeah.
fracking at all.
No.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just such a missed opportunity on Biden's part to actually get some goodwill.
Also, reminder: Biden tried to ban gas stoves, so
Yeah.
natural gas. I don't think they really care that it's cleaner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the problem is that my autistic strategy gamer brain is always thinking about, what would be the best way to secure a power base that actually continues longer than a single election
Yes,
cycle?
but you see, the Democrats are low IQ, and I do mean genuine low IQ, because the only way they stay in power is through obscene levels of corruption and basically holding each other over the barrel to ensure that they'll be mutually destroyed if they both don't blackmail everyone else. And they've only gotten to the position of power they do because they lie, cheat, and steal. And if they actually genuinely had to have a platform, and they genuinely had to have actions they had to actually take, instead of just saying they would, the Democratic Party would have fallen apart 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the fact that they keep buying votes and have for years.
Like I said,
Most of the voter base is sub 100 IQ and doesn't understand anything the Democrats are actually doing.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think anyone that is taking government dollar, whether that is relief funds or it's welfare or it's unemployment or food stamps, anything, until 2 years have passed since you've stopped taking it, you should not get a vote.
Second,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry, it is quite literally a famous quote of democracy only works until the voters realize they can vote themselves to have more money.
Yeah.
And the easiest solution ever to that is, if the voter gets money, then they don't get the vote.
Yeah.
So they can't vote themselves money. Only the people that don't get money can then vote to give people money.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. If you're a burden on your country because you're not working or making money or going out there and doing something, why should you get the chance to vote?
Like, if one farmer is making enough food to feed 200 people, those 200 people shouldn't be able to vote to pay the farmer less money. That makes no sense.
No.
He's the one producing the food. He should be able to, A, set the prices, and B, set how much food he gives them, because he's the one producing.
Yeah.
They California, they shouldn't be able to make a demand saying, oh, well, you have to give us this much food, and the farmer's like, oh, well, if I give you that much food, then I literally starve to death, and they're like, oh, well, we want the food, so starve. Yes, infamous quote, yes. That cannot be said on stream.
True, but it was the programs I'm talking about that they bought
absolutely, yeah. You know, welfare, food stamps, all of that shit. And yeah, if you get that shit, you shouldn't be able to vote. And anyone in your household shouldn't be able to vote.
Votes should go back to being one per household, not one per person.
I don't know about that, because our household isn't always the same person, everyone wanting the same person, same votes.
Property owner, once per property owner.
No, because even then, technically, as someone on a mortgage, you don't own that property anymore.
Yeah.
No.
The debt has changed.
Yeah. That's why I make the easy distinction. If you or anyone in your household is receiving government money, then your household does not get the ability to vote.
Yeah.
And that's solely because if that person is getting money, that means your household is being supported by the government, which means all of your ability to make decisions is compromised.
Well, what about parents getting money for having young children? Because it's not even dollar welfare.
That's different.
Yeah.
Do you mean tax breaks for having kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, and stuff like that.
That's different.
That is less the government giving you money and more the government saying, you don't have to give us this much of your taxes because you had kids.
Here's more of your money that we took from you back. Enjoy.
A tax break is the government saying we're not going to steal as much from you as normal.
As much, yeah.
Still gonna steal some.
Of course.
So, I'm fine with people being able to vote on their taxes. That's completely understandable. Like, that's being able to vote on your taxes is completely different from receiving money from the government.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if the government can't run on a budget of $1 billion, well, then start cutting shit.
Yeah, shit.
Oh, your taxes are only bringing in $1 billion? Well, you have two choices: raise taxes or start cutting shit. And we can't cut shit. Well, find something to cut.
Sounds like we have to enforce taxes on corporations.
Reminder that there was almost a depression before the Great Depression, and the way that Warren G. Harding averted it was that he just started cutting government programs and firing bureaucrats until the government was actually.
Damn if he wasn't the second best president ever.
To explain, there are a few issues I do have with that economic policy that was suggested. One, corporate taxes aren't good. They're not an effective way at raising capital for the state, and they pass those taxes on to the consumer.
Yes, obviously. Yeah.
CEOs will not take a pay cut.
No, of course not.
They will just raise the bonuses they receive, and the corporation will not lose profits. They will simply raise prices.
Yes.
Added to that, taxing individuals, especially on income, is always punitive. It is always a reduction in the behavior which is taxed.
Not only that, a non-flat tax, a tax with brackets, can quickly see someone lose a catastrophic amount of money, because if you go from earning 50K a year and then go from earning to 51K a year, you technically changed an entire bracket, and you're now getting hit with an additional 10% of your money getting taxed. $1,000 is not enough of a difference for 10% to be soaked up by. Like, you go from being able to live semi-comfortably to paycheck to paycheck on that sort of level and of escalation, and it is the dumbest shit in fucking existence. And honestly, just
well, see, that's one of the things I was very well educated on, was pay structures and how corporations will and
individuals, of course,
can do a great many things to avoid jumping tax brackets. For example, if I am let's say I make sheet metal, and I'm offered a pay raise, and that pay raise will take me up to that next tax bracket. Like Sneaky said, I'll say, oh, don't give me a pay raise, just give me paid time off. Maybe increase benefits, maybe match another % in my retirement savings accounts, which are very good, and we need to encourage more people to use those properly. But the biggest issue is that the American economy is now sufficiently mature and developed that you must have a degree of financial literacy to operate within it.
Yes, and no one does.
Yeah, it's
they don't teach that anymore.
Yeah, teaching people financial literacy is racist because certain sections of people are unable to get taught that.
Well, I would say
Yeah.
it's not even that matter. It's I took some AP courses in high school, and they simply did not cover even the economics and civics courses simply did not cover the actual aspects of paying taxes and saving for retirement and how much you genuinely need to save for retirement.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely
School
mind
not
blowing.
teaching life lessons.
I will
Yeah.
say this, and I know an exception does not change a rule, but when I was going to high school here in Florida, one of the math courses that was offered was a financial literacy course that went into pretty good depth for it being a non AP course. But also, that may just be one of those it's in Florida, it's only a thing in Florida things.
It probably was.
Mm.
Because I can say with pretty much 100% certain New Jersey doesn't really offer that except for by exception. So, I will say also as of 5 kids, of one of 5 kids, I am the only child of the pool that has more than $5,000 in their bank.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I know there's not much stock in it, but I do like Neil deGrasse Tyson's quote unquote conspiracy theory that the reason that financial literacy and statistics aren't taught in schools is because the lotto funds pay for the schools.
It would make sense.
Yeah. He said it like as a joke on one of Rogan's podcast episodes.
Yeah.
But also it's one of those things where you start thinking about it, you're like, well, maybe. And like I don't have anything to prove that's happening, but also government has been worse things.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
the main issue comes down to is when it comes to shit like this, and people are being shocked by Japan buying oil. To bring it all back in. People are shocked. I've seen people be genuinely shocked. Like, why would Japan do this? It's like because Japan needs oil to power their, electricity.
Everything.
To be a first world country.
To power their everything because they're entirely an export-based economy that has no resources of their own.
To be fair, they did recently find a massive, like possibly the largest deposit in the world of rare earth minerals. Off the coast of Japan.
I thought that was found in North Korea, or is this an even newer one?
No, this is an even newer one it was found doing it was a new system for scanning for it, and they don't have the technology to get to it yet, but because it's a deep sea mine as well, but it is, if they can start extracting from it, it would shatter Russia and China's percentage grip on the market.
It's in the Sea of Japan, isn't it?
Yes, it's in the Sea of Japan.
Oh yeah, China's gonna be all over that.
Yep.
Here comes World War III.
Oh yeah.
Over that.
Well, yeah, like it is literally so massive that if we were able to tap into that, we would be able to see like $200 graphics cards again.
Wow.
We would see those again anyway if, it weren't for fucking scalpers and Bitcoin miners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. But yeah, I've talked with, unfortunately, a large number of people that just can't understand where electricity comes from, because their brain literally stops at the outlet.
Wow.
They have this problem with food in the stores. Just go to the store to get food. What do you mean the store can't get food? Stores have food.
Yeah, quite literally. What do you mean I can't shut down all of these farmers? What do you mean we killed all the cows and now we don't have steak? Well, it doesn't make sense. It's like, well, you killed
Well,
everything that makes steak.
What do you
Well,
mean
you
our
know-
energy isn't? What do you mean our energy rates aren't cleaner because we're not boiling water anymore?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, these are the same kinds of people that can't answer conditional hypotheticals.
Yes.
Well, I mean, no, hold on. It's also, unfortunately, it's also uneducated people who get caught up in environmentalist ideology.
They
Yeah, but
hear
at
one
least-
person that they can't
feel-goodism.
argue is. They hear one person's opinion that they can't argue against, and then they get all caught up and
Yeah.
just full
Uh,
jump
Honestly
headfirst.
speaking,
Yeah,
I don't
there's a
even necessarily think
lot
it's
of investment
passive
fallacy.
vegetation.
Yeah. There's a lot of
I think it might just be they're all city dwellers. and
Yes,
that's
that
the
too.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also a
That's
fundamental
fact.
disconnect in knowledge. Yes, Alvor is correct. There's a fundamental disconnect going on, and yeah, you know, it's honestly wild. It's honestly wild. I've talked with people that just don't want to understand, because I know they can understand, but they don't want to understand where power comes from, where food comes from, how that food gets created, and what needs to be done to do the things they want it to do. I mean,
because acknowledging it breaks their worldview, and they
I
can't
know.
have that. It
I-
attacks them.
a great example of this is actually when I was in college. This relates actually back to the whole energy debate. Back when I was in college, we had to make our capstones for the year, you know, for senior year. This is our big summary idea for our major, right? And part of it was we spend half of the capstone at the end giving presentations for it, and then we go around and collect 3 presentations from our peers and grade them. And I was talking with this one guy who thought we should just make a 10 square kilometer solar field in the middle of the Nevada desert to power the world, because that would generate enough electricity to power the whole world.
10 square kilometers.
Yes.
This motherfucker can't math.
Yes. And so I go, okay, but how do we transfer the power then? He asked me, what do I mean? I said, well, you know, power loses its, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? Potency? Charge, yeah.
Amperage.
Yeah, power loses its charge over distance. So how would you get it to places like Africa? If it's in, you know, the US deserts. And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, you know, you have to lay cables to South America and to Asia and Europe and Africa, and he's like, what do you mean? They can just get the power.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I literally started autistically lecturing him on amperage and charge and all that shit.
I failed science for 3 years and I still know this shit.
Yeah, and I was just by the end of it, he was just looking at me. He's like, "Oh, well, I'll have to think about that." And so I kind of just had to walk away, and I was just like, "How the fuck do you base the entire grade of your senior year on a project that you don't even know the fundaments of electricity about?"
Yeah, because he's an ideas guy. He's not a solutions guy. He's an ideas guy.
Oh, he's from marketing and sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, as Disney is quickly also finding out, this is another good thing we can talk about. So Disney Plus is actually massively pulling back, and they're vastly rethinking their strategies, because right now with was it 100 million market cap?
Something like that.
It was either 100 million people they currently have, or it's like 10 million people they currently have. But they would have to have 500 million people on Disney Plus to break even on the amount of money they've spent on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
And didn't they have like a huge drop in numbers on the Mando here recently?
Yes, massive,
yes.
Like their
colossal.
front runner, the best thing they had, they tanked it.
Yes.
Yes.
And so Disney Plus is now looking back and going. They're going, why? How did we get here? And it's because a bunch of their fucking meeting minutes. I guess that's what they're called, right? Meeting minutes.
Minutes
Got leaked, showing that they legitimately thought that they could just take the entirety of Netflix's market share, double it, and then make profit on top of that.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all theoretical.
And this isn't.
It's very simple.
Yeah. It's all theoretical. But this wasn't just Netflix's market share. This is Netflix's peak COVID market share.
Yeah.
And then double that.
Wow.
Now.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. For only Disney properties.
No.
Man, I mean, Disney has a lot of properties, but I don't
Not
think they
that
have
many.
They don't have that many.
And not that good.
Yeah. And
I think
so,
the only one they've got that is like Star Wars, and they're running that into the ground. Like there's others, but that's the most well known right now, I believe.
Well, I mean, they have Star Wars and they have Marvel, but also
Yeah.
Marvel stuff started losing steam after Endgame.
not even after
Yes.
Endgame. After
Not
like the
even.
second Avengers movie.
Yeah.
Well, Endgame did make, like, wasn't it the most money of all time in the box office at one point?
Yeah, but that's because it was the finale.
Yeah, and I get that.
That's why it lost steam after Endgame, because that was like the big culmination of the first three phases of the MCU.
And then they milked it more afterwards. Instead of an end game, they literally just kept bringing more and more.
Yeah, guys, we're moving on to Phase 17 now, you see.
Yes.
And they got rid of all the original Avengers, so it's like, why should I even stick around? The people I want to see aren't here, except they're doing cameos, maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
And all the ones
was-
that are new are not like good at all.
well, it
No.
wasn't
Like the
Yeah.
new Captain America,
Fucking
it's
terrible.
memed on, but their shield is literally stopped by a plastic chair.
Yeah.
but no, the
Like
they didn't necessarily get rid of all of the original Avengers, because I know that, like, for instance,
Hulk is still around, but he's
Yeah.
teaching She-Hulk or something like that.
well,
But
also
no, She-Hulk
the
don't need no man, and Hulk's in the
Robert-
wrong. Hulk doesn't understand what it's like to be angry.
Hulk
yeah.
doesn't understand what it's like to suffer. Yes.
Yeah, so you have the ones that stuck around are getting
Hawkeye.
ruined.
Hawkeye's teaching a new Hawkeye.
And
Because
then
he's got a kid and he's retiring, which good on Hawkeye.
and you
Yeah,
also
right.
had the whole thing where it went on for so long that, you know, the person whose movie started the whole thing, Robert Downey Jr., was just like, I literally can't do this anymore.
Mm.
And he left of his own volition, because, like, the money's great, but I want to
You can't-
do something
things.
besides Avengers. I want to.
Other than Iron Man, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
So
I want to
they-
do real movies again.
So
Okay.
he let his character be killed off.
$1 trillion idea. Any big company could have done this.
Uh-huh.
Let's say Disney with Star Wars.
Yeah.
All you do is you go through, you make sure you have all the rights to every single piece of media that has ever been done for this.
Yep.
Digitize it all,
Mhm.
upload it on your subscription platform. All the books, all the comics, all the vignettes, specials, all the old silly stuff. And you say, hey, come give us $15 a month or whatever, and you have access to all this shit.
Yep.
We've got it all in HD. If you want the original release of all the movies, we've got the theatrical release. We've got all the different versions of every single movie. And you put it on there, and now it's on servers, and all you have to do is pay the server cost.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you to put literally every comic on there and let
True.
people access them if they want to.
And to make it even better, you can offer part of the free part of the service. You can select a random, book and a random movie,
Mm.
and that's for free.
Yeah,
month.
like if you told me I had access to literally every Star Wars book that was printed under just like the original book versions of the movies,
Mm.
that'd be worth at least signing up for 1
Well,
month.
not only,
just
here's
on
the
its
other
own.
trillion-dollar idea Disney should have done, is instead of fucking making some garbage-ass attempt at a remake of the original Star Wars movies called the next trilogy, or whatever the fuck they called it,
Yeah.
they should have just taken the most popular books and turned them into fucking movies. Don't fuck the trilogy shit. Just go, this was a popular book, it's a movie now. This was a popular book, it's a movie now. This was a popular book, it's a movie now.
Well, no, the thing is, people thought they were going to do that with the Obi-Wan series, because before we learned that it was Obi-Wan during his time on Tatooine, a bunch of people thought it was his prequel story before he even meets Qui-Gon or whatever.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon.
You can
Yep.
just call him Liam
Qui-Gon.
Neeson.
Qui-Gon.
Also,
Well, I think-
cheers to Liam Neeson for retiring as an action hero. He was a goat.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that held Disney back on that front, though, was that they just were like, yeah, we're just gonna destroy several decades of all of this lore that's been building up.
But don't worry, it's for diversity's sake.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, well, I mean, also just like going, all right, everything's retconned until we say that it's not retconned anymore.
Which is dumb as shit.
Instead of just literally, like Sneaky said, just taking this 50 plus years worth of media that you could for free,
like,
not for free,
shit.
but just turn into movies or to TV shows or to animated series, like
there's so much shit you could have done. Like, I'm sorry, but like there was quite literally a zombie virus at one point in the Star Wars universe. You could have just done some fucking shit with that.
Yep.
Oh,
That's too dark for Star Wars.
Oh, no, it's not.
I know it's not, but they would say that's too dark for Star Wars.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could have found a bunch of P stories, you could have found a bunch of T stories, you could have found a bunch of M stories, and you could have just been like, all right, yeah, boom, bada bing, bada boom. Also, by the way, we partnered with Pornhub. Yeah, there's some Star Wars porn now.
Nice.
Yeah, you can have adult-only stories. There was Ayla Sakura, I think. She actually got brainwashed by a snot vampire.
Yes.
One of the Anasazi.
Yes. The Feline or something, I think it's called. The
the Feline, yeah.
Uh-huh. And like that's a really dark story because it's like a brain-eating alien race of mind rapists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally what they are. They invade your thoughts and like they telepathically control you, and they drink your soup, which is they liquefy your brain and suck it up.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, though. It's like, but everyone was chasing after the fucking marketers. Goddamn marketers. I swear to God, marketers are just like cancer. The marketers were chasing after the whole MC universe thing, where we want this like Star Wars universe where we shape it with this like a massive 300-year line of movies that will just produce one after another that people will pay quadrillion dollars to see. And it's like, no, you dipshits. If you want to do that, you already have a fucking universe. Just make the movies.
Well, the thing is, like, I thought whenever I heard about the sequel trilogy coming out, that it was going to be the Yuzan Vong trilogy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. Like, I would totally go watch
it. To be fair, narratively speaking, in terms of movies, the Yuzan Vong are garbage. They're not valuable. They would make for a terrible movie. They really would. It's like, okay, so Star Wars is known by the general public for the Force. Okay, so we're going to have a whole trilogy series where the Force can't be used on the bad guys.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly.
Yeah, but
I think you could have done it. I actually, because I got salty about the sequel trilogies, I rewrote the
I'm
script
sure
for
you
the
did.
first
You
sequel
fucking
movie.
autist.
Yeah, because I am. I'm dyslexic. And I kept all the characters the same. The only thing I did was I included Mara Jade, and Rey was Luke's kid. Because I didn't know she was, Palpatine's granddaughter at the time. But what you do is, first of all, you have Borsk Fela, who is your not Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Luke and the Jedi. You have Rey. You have Kylo Ren, whatever the hell his name was, and they are, fucking Luke's apprentices. And this is like pre World War II, after Britain has started rearming, but the First Order are already doing their like militia shit in the Outer Rim. So, the whole point of this is, oh my god, there's this new Sith Lord. His name's Snoke. But they haven't declared war on the Republic, and they're only invading neutral systems beyond our periphery. We need the Jedi to go do Jedi things at them and buy us time to like rearm and organize. And you don't bother with Starkiller Base. Starkiller Base was just stupid. It was the Death Star, but bigger and dumber.
Yeah, it's gonna shoot a laser shotgun.
Yeah, it's like, how the fuck do you split a laser beam after you've already discharged it?
Yeah.
So what you do though is you keep the Republic's moving capital, and you make it a plot point that like, hey, we think there might be a threat coming for the moving capital because we're supposed to go to these worlds in a schedule, and we can't break the schedule because political reasons.
Sure.
And we need the Jedi to make sure nothing happens, and we can prepare and da 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 da. And then you have it where you set it up where you think, oh, we've driven off Snoke and we've delayed the Sith, and then you have the Megador of all things show up, and you're like, hey, yeah, the Galactic Empire built this, and we've finally got it working now, and oh, your capital is gone, and your defense fleet is gone, and now you have like Imperial warlords coming out of the woodwork.
Sure.
You have like militias and sympathizers, and the New Republic is under attack.
I think they would have been better off to reframe it into Disney's how to put this, into Disney's ambitions. If they had picked a bunch of single movie, seemingly non-connected storylines that take place after the fall of the Empire, that can start to build the new universe up in the minds of the general populace. So we have the books that build it up in everyone who is a super nerd, but pick the ones that are good in both lore for that aspect of building up the new Republic or whatever, but also stories that are flexible enough that you can change what you need to, but do what they originally did in Marvel. The first movie of the Avengers series wasn't the Avengers. It was Iron Man. So do it not quite the same, but similar thing of like the first movie is seemingly not connected to anything else, and in the background you can just drop little hints of like, oh, there's a poster of the First Order or recruitment for the First Order, or a news story talking about it, or it's a plot point that the heroes need fuel, but actually all of the fuel's been bought already because it needs to be shipped out as a relief effort for this planet that got hit. And put that in the second movie, include more of that, but it's not key to the plot. It's just there as backdrop. The third movie, do more of that. The fourth movie, do more of that. And then in the next movie, this is where you actually start the trilogy. Have it be, oh, yep, First Order's here. By the way, if you go watch all the previous movies again and pay us, you can go see all of these bits that you might have missed that lead up to us. This is not actually a big reveal. This has actually been in the books the whole time, and you guys just didn't see it.
Yep.
I don't think they can do that though, because Disney canon is Empire is just gone. There is no transition period. There is no build up. It's just
No.
Rebels won.
just
It's over.
Right, but that's my point. Is that if that's what I'm saying. To fit Disney's ambitions more. Because Disney had the ambition of releasing a trilogy of movies, and then between each of the trilogy movies, they would release prequel movies. You know, Squadron and Boba Fett and Obi-Wan, which were supposed to be the
Yep.
3 that were between each of those trilogy movies. Instead, they start off with all of these not quite connected movies to get everyone used to watching Star Wars again and interested in the next What's the next one going to be about? It's not going to be a trilogy. Disney kept saying it wasn't going to be a trilogy. So what's the next one going to be about? What's the next one going to be about? This is new. This is interesting. Let me watch it. Because that's how the fucking average person thinks. And then do the trilogy. Having alluded to the trilogy the entire time with these movies before that.
But that would require work and wouldn't generate instant profits right now.
Yes, it would.
Yes, it would, but not as much.
Massive fucking profits.
It wouldn't generate as much as a trilogy.
Yes, it
See,
would.
that's the thing, though, is they canceled the trilogy.
No, see, it's even better, though, because you get a whole shit ton of free advertising. You don't even have to advertise. You don't have to waste money on advertising. That's profits.
See, I think that I do actually agree with Sneaky in some of this aspect, which is I don't think Disney should have started off wiping away what all of the super nerds had thought of as the sequel trilogy, and they should have just done single movies, because then you can pull them into the new Star Wars while you also get new fans coming in, and then you can build up to a Disney trilogy after you've got the trust of the super nerds who are like, okay,
Right.
it's different, but Disney's done a good job with the rest of the Star Wars stuff, so I'll give it a shot. Instead of having, when whatever episode 7 was called come out, and you had the immediate backlash before people even knew how bad the movie was going to be.
I will say this: the EU did need to be cleared away. The expanded universe was
It was a mess.
so convoluted and so.
It's why I'm not entirely against Disney's decision to do it. My issue was more that they got rid of the EU and then we're like, well, we don't know what kind of movies to make. It's like, you dipshits, it's right fucking there.
Yeah,
Just
I
take
remember
the
those
bits of
complaints
the
now.
EU that were good and make a movie out of them.
The problem is you've got a bunch of people that you're pitching to who don't want individual movies. They want the next really big thing. They want to compete with in-game, so they've got to have a trilogy. They want to compete with Avengers, etc., and so forth. And then the other half of that equation is you've got people like Kathleen Kennedy who don't know what the hell they're doing. They're tossing out shit ideas. It's all got to be progressive woke garbage. And, fuck the fans. We're not interested in them. We want this new fan base. We're not interested in the old fans.
The mythical wider audience. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And the wider audience that totally exists. If you just keep searching hard enough, you'll eventually find them.
Yep.
Why would you dump the loud American in the videos section instead of the polls section? You absolute fucking microbrain. Jesus Christ. My drunk ass has more forethought and control than you at your soberest.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Oops.
So don't you just say oops.
What's up?
Sign is retarded. And continues to be so.
This is very true.
It's an ongoing saga, you see. Anyway, next topic about not economy things. We're now talking about why Bob Lee is dead and how that's a good thing.
Who's Bob Lee?
Yeah.
So Bob Lee is a famous developer, producer, funder, however you want to say it. He made Cash App.
Yeah.
Cash App and a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah,
He's
a bunch of
also-
bystanders ignored him pleading for help too.
He also
Yes.
very famously is a
also
progressive
made Square.
on the left, and
Yes.
basically had this isn't an exact quote, but basically gives off the general vibe that there's nothing wrong with a little bit of diversity, and California is exactly fine the way that it's going. And then he walked out at 2 in the morning in San Francisco and got stabbed by presumably a homeless man.
Yes.
Mhm.
So this is why Bob Lee is dead and why it's a good thing. So I look. I'm not. This is not my opinion. Twitch. I'm just quoting the news here. But anyway, as I'm saying, he died the way he lived, supporting policies that got people killed.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, you gotta respect the man. He,
You mean- Mm.
Mm.
you know, he supported those policies, probably even as he was bleeding out on the sidewalk in a culture that no longer thinks he's important.
While screaming for help
Yep.
from
Yeah.
people who absolutely hate him.
Hey, looking at a news article, he apparently walked up to a car, showed them his stab wound, and then was left there on the side of the road.
Incredibly
Yeah.
based. That car
Yes.
owner, 100%, should be
Yeah.
a hero. And I say this somewhat ironically, but not really, actually. I think more people need to die to these policies in a way that is humanitarian. And that what I mean by that is I think we need to take in more refugees, specifically into California.
No, because we can't wall off California.
Oh, no, we can't. But the second they leave California, we can just ship them back.
No, we can't do that either.
Yes, we can. It's easy.
No, that's racist.
Oh, well, I don't care.
There's a very simple solution to this, Cyan. We
Listen,
just
I think I've got a solution.
we exile California from the Union.
Exactly.
No
Yeah,
longer
no,
part of the U.S.
California is now
No.
it's a free state.
No, they've
Yes.
got extremely short-term memory. I'll send them trees again.
Yes.
Honestly,
more
by the
trees.
way, thank you, Australia. You fuckers sent shit to my state too. So,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
How does that even grow in your swamps? Just
everything grows in Georgia.
Are you
And
stupid?
everything goes in Australia. Everything goes in Australia.
I'm sorry, if you take anything from Australia and put it anywhere else, it's a fucking invasive species because
Yep.
Australia is so hellish to live in.
The only thing more invasive than Australian flora is kudzu.
Kudzu and American frogs and rabbits.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you guys gave us like a type of grass, and it grows insanely fast over here.
Yes,
And it'll
we call
kill
those
all
weeds.
the plants it encounters.
Yes, we call that weeds.
Which grass is
It
that?
involves our garden.
that's you know what that's fine. That just gives my family more business, so I'm not even mad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've also
You
got
want
like,
anything else?
no. At least we don't have the freaking eucalyptus trees that explode. God,
Only in
have
high
mercy.
enough heats. Only in high enough heats because they they excrete their own sap that is explosive and
It's
flammable.
oil.
Wow.
Or oil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
It's
We need
trees.
some-
Well, you can understand America's interest in trees that produce oil, but
Yeah. And also, technically, does that count as a bioweapon or a war crime?
Yes.
it's only a war crime if you get caught.
I feel like I see something wants to tell me that if there was a statute of limitations on war crimes, the 100 years it takes for them to grow probably meets the statute of limitations. You're
That's
probably
fair.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dead by then.
Australia playing the long game on war crimes.
Indeed. But in all seriousness, to bring it back to Bob Lee here, I am a firm believer in that everyone should experience the policies they vote for. Bob Lee was a ardent supporter of the policies that got him killed, and I think if he were to be able to be interviewed at this point, I would say he'd be a very happy man, knowing he has experienced the full cycle of the policies he supported.
Mm.
That's what I have to say about Bob Lee. So anyway, I think California should experience the full cycle even more. Moving on, finally, to seizing properties and why it's a good thing. You should lose all of your property so we can build wind and solar farms, which are far more inefficient means of generating energy at a far higher pollution scale.
You
Oh
learn
no,
happy.
it's even better because the headline there doesn't go into saying which property should be seized, but
Only
Just
Republicans,
seize
of
property.
course.
well, no,
Just-
also just given the fact that it takes so much land to make one of these farms, it's obviously not going to be anywhere in the cities.
Yes, obviously.
It's
Yeah.
going to be farmland.
Probably.
Which means food shortages.
Yes.
Well, which also means a whole bunch of angry rednecks daring federal agents to come and try and take their property.
Although I would very much like to see some more homegrown. How best to put this? Let's see. What's the term? Resistance against the oppressive, imperialistic, fascist government.
So basically, more homegrown pushback compared to the
Yes, I would like to see homegrown pushback to the government putting up wind farms on property they had seized from people. I think it would be very funny to watch hundreds of thousands of dollars get destroyed by a peaceful protest around the foundation of the windmill.
That's another thing. Is like these big solar and wind farms are incredibly easy to destroy. Like you don't even have to destroy the entire thing. Like solar panels are not exactly the most resilient technology.
No, they're not.
No.
And it doesn't take that much to stop a wind turbine from turning. But also this circles us back to Science Point before, of people just waiting for a reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a very good reason.
Yeah.
Hey, and I once again bring up, why don't you guys just boil water?
Yeah, well,
Spicy
boiling
water, but still
is
water.
yeah, but it's evil, you see. Yeah, it's very evil. It's evil because Chernobyl exploded.
It's scary. It scares people because they've had decades of propaganda against it.
Yeah.
It is scary because the Soviets, who were so famous as wonderful maintenance,
highly competent,
highly competent, messed up once.
Yeah.
And didn't follow regulations, which they were so famous for doing everything to the letter without anyone skimming anything off the top.
Yeah.
But it something happened in Ukraine once, and now we never get to hear the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
if they were going to use any land to actually do solar farms, and this is again putting aside the fact that these things are highly inefficient, the best place to do it would be in the desert. Also highly toxic.
Hilariously toxic.
Nevada desert.
Yeah,
the Nevada desert and California and a few other places.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to genuinely make use of the deserts and turn them into a power production facility, like Christ, salt reactors, like come on, molten salt reactor.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that though because again, that's scary.
But hey, you know
Well,
what?
no,
If
it's not.
America
I'm
goes
not talking about nuclear reactors. I'm talking about molten salt. Like,
Mm.
so you know about the molten salt towers?
No.
So basically, you take a shit ton of mirrors and you reflect them into one point, which is a giant tower filled with water and salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you liquefy the salt and use it to boil water.
Mm.
Oh, yeah,
Energy
they're not
is
gonna do that.
energy. Quite literally just boiling water.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna do that because that would, impact on somebody's solar panel deals or their
Yeah.
wind turbine deals and all these kickbacks they're getting.
Yes.
You ever think about the fact that if deserts become a hotshot commodity, then Egypt's gonna get fucking invaded?
Well,
Oh.
see, one of my favorite things about, like, for instance, the Sahara Desert, like the plan to put solar panels in the Sahara Desert, is that I don't know if this is true for any of the other big deserts, but if you were to cover the entire Sahara in solar panels, it would actually cause a collapse of the Amazon rainforest
Mm,
because the desert sands from the Sahara actually help the Amazon rainforest to grow after they blow across the Atlantic. Because, as it turns out, the environmentalists forget the number one rule of the environment, which is everything is connected.
Yes.
And I'm sure that there's other such cases, though perhaps not on the same scale, for the other deserts across the world.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised in the end if that was true. I mean, these wind and solar farms are just a joke. Honestly, any sort of mass scale, like if you own a farm out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere and you want to put up a giant windmill or like a decent sized solar farm for your property, I mean, go for it. I totally support that. And that'll produce plenty of power for you. But
But
the
trying to produce it for cities and
yeah,
fucking
the
capitals
scale needed of wind and solar farms to produce enough electricity for a city is insane.
Even for the individual, the scale doesn't work because you've also got to factor in marine batteries that you had to replace every few years, and the fact that you had to replace the panels every few years, and so on and so forth. The costs get astronomical. It's just not worth it, from what I've heard.
Oh, it's absolutely not. And the sea-based windmills are killing whales by like the hundreds.
Well, see, the thing is, eventually, solar panels will be an efficient means for getting electricity.
No, they
About
won't.
the same time that we figure out how to make a Dyson sphere.
Yeah.
I thought
Sounds
the whole
about
idea
right.
behind a Dyson sphere was that you just use the sheer number of solar panels to create power, not the efficiency of them.
That's my point. You have to put them right next to the sun, and you have to use millions of them for them to become viable.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the other hand,
I mean,
it could
you're
also just be
talking.
that pollution gets so bad because China exists that the sun stops being able to pierce through all the fucking smog.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh,
China and India.
speaking of which, that is a funny bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys ever saw the articles on that, but
Where
China's smog is what's causing San Francisco issues.
China and India, especially India's water pollution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, India's
I'm
water
not
pollution
surprised.
affects the Middle East and Africa, not.
Oh no, have you seen the charts? It goes all the way to Australia.
Oh, well,
does,
that's
yes,
Australia's
it does.
problem.
It is, and we're just gonna drink and ignore it.
That is your national pastime, after
It
all.
sounds
Drink and
fair enough,
ignore
yeah.
China's existence
Yeah.
as they slowly buy your country out.
I think Alvor was trying to say something, but they
He
muted.
muted himself because his mic, I think, screwed up.
No, it's cool. Just what I was saying was that solar panel technology is coming a long way, but it's a situational technology that really does need to be used in conjunction with other systems. I would probably say a nuclear system supported with home solar and small scale solar, power things like street signs or stoplights or whatever, would probably be very, very efficient, very cheap, all things considered. But you're talking about a more tactical employment of solar panels, and the mining for rare earth elements for
Yes.
batteries and solar panels is just massively damaging to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if we're gonna talk about racial stuff here, they use literal children to mine these rare earth lethal minerals from the earth.
Don't worry about it. Minecraft showed it that they want it.
Yeah, I know. Children yearn for the mines. I'm aware.
Yes.
But no, it's like in Africa, they basically have it's being mined by hand, even though they insist they're not doing it. But it's being mined by hand by hundreds of people, including children, and they're handling lethal chemicals to mine out lethal metals that, when combined with the lethal chemicals, kill someone quickly. And so, and they're being paid basically nothing to do it.
Yep.
And then we send these
Leopold would be
materials.
proud.
Then we send these materials to China. And now, I don't know how aware you guys are on the state of rare earth extraction technology.
Not very, I'm gonna be honest. Even though it's one of my exports for iron and shit. But
so, the U.S. has a method for processing rare earth materials that is about 10 times more efficient than China's method, and produces 100th of the waste that China's produces. And we send the materials to China still, even though we would get 10 times the material out of doing our method.
But
We send it to
Mindy,
China still because it's cheaper, and China just pollutes their own environment instead of us producing a minute amount of pollution.
It's because we've got so many regulations over here that it's easier to have somebody else do it than it is to jump through all the hoops here to do it.
Oh, I'm aware, but China's method is incredibly inefficient and incredibly polluting.
Yeah, do you know what's so stupid though? San Francisco and all that, who say they clean energy, they don't make pollution and all that. You don't matter. You're less than 1% compared to China's 25% or so of the world's fucking population.
Well, I mean, yes, there is that as well, but also the fact that they're boasts about how they use clean energy. They don't use nuclear power. They don't use, they don't use. They're literally the only form of clean energy that exists is you getting on a bicycle and pedaling really hard.
Yes.
Wind, the materials it takes to create the aluminum and the coatings the metal has to use to produce wind power is incredibly toxic and doesn't break down. And on top of that, like tens of gallons of oil is used on these wind farms
for maintenance,
every day for maintenance.
Well, it's not just that. The oil and gas that's even allowed to be sold in San Fran and California in general has entirely separate regulations that means that, it has to be filtered on its own and can't just be part of the greater oil supply, which causes other issues that make it worse off for, yes, people in California, but also you have to have entirely different machines made, entirely different people in charge of those sorts of stuff, which increases the logistic load, which also increases the amount of pollution that's
being
popping
created.
up.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, say they use, fucking solar. That's not clean. It's very unclean. The poisonous materials that are used to create solar panels are being created in China already, so there's that. But B, again, it's being made with materials that are being mined improperly, processed improperly, and used improperly. Like China actually just got banned in Japan, their buses, their electric buses, because they were found to be using what's called chromium hexafluorate or some shit like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And the chromium hexium or whatever fucking it's called is highly toxic to a person, incredibly lethal, and they were coating all of their chromium with it. And the chromium is used across numerous parts for its resilience in a bus. And
hexafluoride.
yeah, and it's crazy because I mean, yes, chromium hexate. That's what it was, chromium hexate. Chromium hexate does have a limited ability of self-repair, which greatly increases the amount of time that part can be used for. However, it's incredibly lethal and kills people.
Yeah.
And so the alternative, and what would had to be done by the Chinese to allow their buses to be sold in Japan, would be to use chromium triorium, yeah, hexavalent chromium, yeah.
Yes, that's it.
And there's some sort of tri something or other chromium, which is way more costly to apply, way more costly to maintain, way more costly to do everything involving around it, but it's only like a tenth of the lethality of, a hexavalent. And it's like, okay, well, so they got all this pollution going on. It's like, congratulations, you just created incredibly lethal substances. You just poured hundreds of gallons of chemicals so we could just create a single electric bus for your precious clean energy. And then where does that energy come from? It comes from toxic metals that don't ever break down and are highly lethal to the environment they're dumped in. Wow. You're so saving the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually had safety meetings on this shit when I was working at the plant, and it's bad, okay?
Yeah.
Like, all the cancer, get hyper cancer bullshit.
So it's just insane. The cities are just a cancer to the mind, apparently, because it's only people in cities, effectively, that come out and say this incredibly dumb shit that is just like, are you fucking insane?
Well, the thing is, cities conceptually are parasitic. And I mean that in the truest way that I can, because there's a difference between a town and a city. Town being something that, organically cropped up over years and years and years, and things aren't planned out where they are, versus a city where the mayor puts new taxes in to pay for additional ways to bring people into the city instead of funneling that money into maintenance on roads and highways, et cetera, et cetera. Because that's one of the big reasons that construction seems like it's always going on downtown and never affecting like potholes, because downtown is where the business is, which is where the taxes are, and those taxes are the only thing that's keeping the businesses are the only thing that's keeping the city in existence, and the city being in existence is the only thing that's keeping the politicians and the bureaucrats of the city able to actually have jobs and make money.
Yeah.
Whereas all the stuff in the suburbs doesn't matter. That's just after whatever contract the city had to make the suburb in the first place finishes, long as people are living there, they don't care about it anymore.
The suburbs actually only cropped up due to fear of nuclear annihilation.
Yep.
And it's actually the rural areas that cities are parasitizing from.
But yeah, and I genuinely am of the belief that big cities are parasites for the country, and it ends up getting me into issues where I get in arguments with the whole city planners are actually a good thing crowd, which I have multiple times since I'm actually at university. But because there's a whole issue of the new argument that they make is that walkable cities are actually good.
Mm.
And then I have to go through and explain to them in detail. No, walkable cities actually aren't that great, and trying to remove the capacity for people to have automobiles will be the single greatest reduction in personal freedom that
Mm.
likely has existed.
Hold on, Orv. No, hold on, Orv. I think they're onto something here. I think that cities and their roads should be reduced to the point where we can't fit any cars in them. And it should be just bike paths and walking inside cities. And only
You
inside
mean
cities.
15-minute cities?
Yes, and
Only
cities,
cities.
they should also move everyone out of their apartments and put them in giant habit blocks. And
Oh.
I think at the bottom of each habit block there should be a supermarket. And I don't think they should be allowed to leave their habit blocks unless they get a special pass from the mayor.
For work
And
purposes.
yeah, no, I'm definitely actually behind the ability to no longer drive in a city at all, period, ever. We can just wall off the cities to make sure that the people inside of the city are safe. You see.
Obviously.
Yeah. You know, this sounds really kind of familiar to me, you know?
Yeah, and I think we can actually like even make this easier, where for the truck drivers, to reduce wear on the roads, what we do is once we get the wall completed in this around the city, we can make depots that will then lift the supplies from the trucks and move them over the wall into the city, so we don't even have to worry about like putting like gates in or anything.
Yeah, just have docking areas for them to be unloaded, just like at shipping containers are.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah. And so that way, everyone in the city gets to have their perfect walking paradise.
Sounds perfect.
I love it.
We just got to remember to keep the same, population demographic mix as they are now.
Yes.
All right. I think I gotta go, guys.
No problem, man. All right, so it's a good time to cut it short here, and you know what? We'll still not banned, and we'll meet up on next Saturday with 14 days under our belt.
Yep, you fuckers better be here, because if I can get here at 5 a.m., you should be able to.
All right, well, we'll see you all next time. I still don't have a really good sign-off slogan. I'm already using another really great one for something else, and so I can't reuse that one.
Here's to Stream 3, boys. Let's make it.
7 more days! 7 more days!
Look, the stream outro is just see you next week if we're still here.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully see you next week.
7 more!